What is the most horrible thing someone has ever said to you? Okay, but you don't think you're actually attractive, do you? The worst thing someone's ever told me was from when I worked at a small town movie theater. A 40-ish-year-old lady was looking to see a movie by herself. She was getting popcorn and said to me, it's probably weird that I'm seeing a movie by myself. I assured her it's pretty common actually, and she had nothing to worry about. Then she hit me with, I can see a movie by myself, or sit on the couch 2 feet away from my husband, and feel just as alone. And man, that just put a damper on the mood. Honorable movie theater mention goes to the elderly gentleman who said the worst part of getting old is watching your friends die off, and trying to find ways to distract yourself from the fact you're the last one alive. No wonder you're so fucking fat, you fucking disgust me. Said by my ex who was 5'6", 260 pounds, when I made us nachos to snack on when we were watching a movie. When my dad told me my mom only has 2 months to live, then crumbled and started crying. 4 years and I still hurt the same. When I was a kid, if I did something she didn't like, my mother used to shake her head and say, just like your father. I knew it was really bad then, but I didn't realize how bad until I grew up. I devoted my childhood basically to trying not to be anything like my father. Then I grew up and realized I'm nothing like him and never was. We were all happier before you got here, said by my brother. I was in 7th grade and sold candy bars to raise money for the school. I sold 357 damn candy bars, which was the most in the history of the school's fundraising. As soon as the teacher announced my accomplishment, a girl yells out, "What did you do? Eat them all?" I was a fat kid and I hadn't eaten any of them. I'm 39 now, and shit still stings. I have never believed in anyone as little as you. My high school art teacher. While recovering from a stroke that left me in hospital learning to walk again for 3 months, I was told I looked fine and to get over it. I actually let it get to me for a few weeks, which made me more annoyed about it all. Edit. I was very overwhelmed by the massive response and I wanted to answer a few questions. 1. It was a family member that I don't speak to very often now, obviously, and I must stress, when I told my parents they encouraged me to express how upset their words made me. However, at the time I felt concentrating on recovery was far more important to me. 2. I'm doing amazingly well. I can walk, dress, feed myself, shitpost on Reddit. Life is good, and I'm lucky to be on this side of the sod. 3. Thanks for all the kind words. I really appreciate it. I approached a girl at a club and she looked at me and just said, "Ooh, you are ugly." That moment destroyed my whole self-confidence. You deserve to be cheated on. You weren't worth it. Girl I loved for 10+ years. When I was 15, my first girlfriend ever broke up with me after 6 months, and after a couple weeks of me being miserable and sort of trying to get back together, she told me, roughly translated, 6 months were too many for you. I never loved you, and if you stay like this, nobody else will either. Worst part is she was probably right. You can be replaced X. My GF of several years after I finally opened up about having been sexually assaulted by another man. You are the weakest piece of shit I've ever met. Why are you complaining about this to me? You're the worst parent in the entire neighborhood. My son, 8 years old. My friend got pissed at me due to some misunderstanding and said after a heated exchange that he wished he'd never met me and never wanted to see my face again. That was the last I saw him, or he saw me. 2 days later he was run over by a truck while crossing the street. Shook me up terribly. Edit. Thanks for your upvotes, fellows. But an important lesson to remember is that never ever speak harshly with anyone, especially when you are angry. You never know how your words may be fulfilled. Take care and be forgiving to all. Was at a college bar. Social anxiety is a bitch for me, but I still went. Went out to the patio to grab a smoke. Joined a little circle, and I'm talking to some folks. One girl looks at me and is like, wow, you can't even make fucking eye contact. Lol, I'm just like, oh, yeah, anxiety is a bitch, and she's like, lol, anxiety, wow, okay, fucking weirdo. That was probably 12 years ago. Still remember it like yesterday. On my Marine Corps graduation day, when I got my EGA, Michael had told me he would never consider me a Marine. I have no clue why he alone hated me so much. So much so that when my senior drill instructor found out, he took me aside to see if I was doing okay. I hated that dude, and it still cut deep. You're the most lackluster person I know. You're wasting my youth. Both were said to me by my ex when we were together. My mother told me to fuck off and never come back a few years ago. I did just that and haven't spoken to her since. I'm much happier without her narcissistic behavior in my life. Freeing. Not the worst, but a girlfriend broke up with me. She said, you'll never find someone to marry. You'll always be the bottom of the barrel boyfriend, or you'll be single. The irony being that she was cheating on me with a few guys, one of which she's still in a relationship with. They've been back quote engaged for 5 years now, and I've been married for 5 years. Someone I was dating asked if I could get my saggy skin removed during sex. A girl I was dating, this was in the middle of COVID, so we couldn't do anything since everything was closed. The comment just made me feel worthless. All you do is come over and make me dinner, we watch a movie and go to bed. My time is valuable. I need you to make my time worth it. Out of left field during a lunch last year, I never beat you. My abusive father. He's 90. I'm 50 plus. I think he's feeling his mortality and rewriting history in his own mind, and with his current wife, his third. He beat and belittled me from toddlerhood until age 16, when I knocked him on his ass. He never put his hands on me again, but he continues the micro-verbal abuses to this day. I learned how to be a good husband and parent by avoiding everything he did, but that shit sticks with you for life. That she loved me and walked away a day later. She once said, I hope you never have kids, you'd be a terrible father. I got a weird rash when I was a kid. They looked pebbly on my skin, and my mother said they were due to all my sins. It really stuck with me, and every now and then I still think about it. On the day my father died, my sister told me that we are not her real family. Lol, you are getting pulled. Also my sister. I retaliated by saying, and you are getting fatter every time we see each other, and she almost jumped me. Go fuck off. And I also my sister. I look Asian. I'm full-blooded. A note. A customer said. Well, if this idiot could speak English. When I was 13 years old, a neighbor moved in, and a girl lived there 14. We got to know one another, hang out, and ended up kissing in the passage of the flat. Her dad came down and caught us in the act. She ran upstairs since he caught us and went in the flat. He followed her, so I went back in my flat. I hear a knock at the door and answer it. Her dad stands there and told me I molested his daughter. She was actually 12. Police show up and put me in cuffs. Had to spend the next 10 hours in a tiny room at the police station, traumatized. Eventually they pull me into a room, record me after asking some questions. They drop the whole thing in the end. Thereafter her 25Y/0 sister would try and harass me if she saw me. As for her, she spoke to me as if nothing happened. She said what she said in order to avoid having her dad angry at her. TLDR, got called a molester. I'm sorry you feel that way. When my mom told me that, I realized that my opinions and feelings didn't matter, never mattered, and continuing to have a relationship with her was a waste of my time. I just wanted her to respect the fact that my wife was in a rough place changing medications, and instead she felt she had the right to verbally abuse my wife into a depressive episode. She's recently retired from being a mental health nurse too, which is fucked up. I liked it better when you didn't talk. A teacher said to me as I was talking to my friend in class one year, when I finally started being a little more social and had made some friends in school. It was a new school for me. My mother, something along the lines of, "You're such a disappointment. Why can't you be like your brother?" Because you've always compared us, showed him love and affection, and never truly took care of me. Maybe that's why he grew up with a healthy, undamaged mind, and I still struggle to socialize. And anything and everything I did, every hobby I picked up, was immediately ridiculed and looked down upon. Guitar? You're not gonna play it anyway. Why would we buy it for you? Working out? Haha. Percent father. Look, Mr. Olympia. Fucking twat. If you're ever going to bring kids into this mess, think twice. Are you sure you're not a cunt just like my mother? My dad told me I had used him and my mother to help with our children. It was the last time we spoke before he died. Haunts me still. Got told I was unwanted by my parents in the same conversation I was told I have a dead older brother. I was not ready for that. Approached a girl at the club. She did a 1-second scan, top to bottom, looked me in the eyes with a grin in her face and shook her head. And the same thing, but with obvious disgust in her eyes. Now that one hurt.